Good morning. How are you? Good. Have you had a good night's sleep? We're ready for a long and exciting day? Great. We're going to start worshiping together. And why don't we stand up and start by giving this day to the Lord. Lord, today we are responding to your call, to your love. We want to say yes to you today. We want to give you our highest praise because you deserve it all. You deserve our very all. Holy Spirit, come. my strength and fortress, my hope and purpose. You are all this, oh, you are Jesus, my strength. can put words to.
presence. I love, I love you, Jesus. I love, I love your presence.
Through faith alone in Jesus Christ, unfailing love restored my life, relieved of all my sin and shame. It's all because of Jesus' name. Oh, what a mystery, the favor of God poured out His grace over me. Oh, countless wonders, yet one thing I know, that God has been good to me. So I will boast of nothing else but Jesus, whom my life has saved. The crown and glory I receive is stained with Jesus' blood for me. Oh, what a mystery, the favor of God poured out His grace over me. Oh, countless wonders, yet one thing I know, that God has been good to me. deed can grant me heaven's prize. There's only Jesus' sacrifice. My eyes are fixed on things above. My feet are grounded in His love. And the deed can grant me heaven's prize. There's only Jesus' sacrifice. My eyes are fixed on things above. My feet are grounded in His love. Yes, my feet are grounded in His love. No one mystery, favor of God, poured out His grace over me. You've been good to me. You're so good to me.
like a mighty roar, a feather falling, a breath of life, a lullaby. You sing your love over me. You sing your love over me.
Amen.
Good morning, god morgen, good elsker deg. I'm trying to learn some Danish words. My name is Ari Puanti. I'm a leader of the Helsinki Vineyard. Thank you, thank you. And it's such a privilege to be part of this multicultural family called Vineyard Nordic. Different nations together praising God. So this is a foretaste of heaven. Do you think so? Always in this earthly world, well, there's a blessing and a pain, but we stick on the blessing. As a church in Helsinki, we are more multicultural now. Within a year, we have got more people from Afghanistan who has become a believer. So we have 10 or 15 Afghan believers in every meeting. And our services are in Finnish, English, and in Dari, so we operate in 3 languages. One of the guys who came to our church in November were exploring Jesus, and he was a Muslim before, and he said that he couldn't understand the Trinity of God and the Jesus' divinity. And so he tried to explore it in many ways and discussed with many people. And after the one Sunday meeting on December, he complained that to one of the ladies in our church who is from Iran. And the lady said that, well, okay, for her also in Iran, when she found Jesus, Jesus revealed himself in a vision. So he has to just pray that God will tell him. The next night, he saw a dream where Jesus revealed himself to this guy. And after that, it was clear that Jesus is God and there's God's Trinity. So simple. So simple. And 2 weeks ago, he was baptized. So we're very glad. Thomas Lorentzen, would you please come here? We are so glad to hear about the church planting, because the Vineyard is church planting movement.
Morning. I want to just quickly tell you about something happening tonight. We have a church planting dinner with Dietrich Schindler, and Dietrich is an amazing guy. He has planted 5 churches in Germany, and he's now on his 6th church plant. And he's working with church planters all over Europe. He's a very, very smart guy. And he's going to talk about this subject, from good to great church planting. So the dinner is going to be in one of the seminar rooms behind us, behind the wall here. And the price is 80 Swedish krona, 60 Danish krona. Actually, the thing is, we have over 70 people signed up for this dinner. So it's actually fully booked. But really, if you are hearing about this now and you are just dying to come to say, I just have to come and hear this, please come and talk to me. Maybe we can find an extra seat for you. The rest of you, those of you who are signed up, please come at 5 o'clock. Be on time in the seminar room. We'll have some delicious buffet for you. And also, please go and pay for the dinner in the reception before you come during the day. So you just go and pay out with the guys in the reception during the day. So, but I'm looking forward to see you at 5.
Great. Natalie, would you please come to tell about the summer camp? And we are excited about what is going to happen on summer. Yeah. And we hope that it's as warm as it was last year. But it doesn't matter. The sun is shining, every way.
Yeah, hopefully. We're in Sweden, so you know how it is.
Where sun is shining all the time.
Of course, that's why they're so tan. Unlike the Danes here, so maybe I chose the wrong guy. I don't know. No, I didn't. Just a few announcements before summer camp. First thing, you can buy lunch today in Cafe Kent. They're open to you. You can buy coffee, cake. You can also buy dinner if you haven't had a dinner. If you've brought a packed lunch, we've opened the basement for you. It's set up with different kind of picnic tables and tables. Eden jewelry. We have some 2 tables set up out there, so you can come buy Eden jewelry for your mother, which Mother's Day is next month, so you can be ready for that. And we'll do a little bit intro into summer camp. So can I get the summer camp team to come up, please? Let's start on. Jon will be last. I'll start, then you say. I'll just give a small greeting from Sue. She can't be with us this weekend because she's sick, but she sends her greeting to you. She's the one who runs all of summer camp, and I'm just her assistant / helping coordinate some of the major things with summer camp.
I'm in charge of the seminars. My name is Sarah Lawrenson. I'm in charge of the seminars, and I can tell you already now, I can see we're really in for a treat, so I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yes, my name is Anya, and at the camp I will be at the registration, so I will be there to help you out with registration if you have any questions. Also at the camp, and I'm also doing some of the volunteering, helping out finding the great volunteers, along with Johannes.
Yes, so guess what I'm doing? Oh.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm helping coordinating the volunteers together with Gustas Butkus this year. And it's going to be great. It's my 3rd year and I really like it. If you want to sign up as a volunteer, I just thought I'd take the opportunity now. You can email volunteer@vineyard.se. And if you want to find more information, you can go to the summer camp website under information and volunteers and look what it entails.
Hey, I'm Maria, and I'm in charge of all the worship stuff.
Hi, I'm Signe Margrethe, and I get to work with the kids camp. I have a few slides. So, invite kids, families in your communities to come along. Your kids ministry workers, leaders, they will get invitation cards that will help your kids when they invite. So all kids ministry workers, come to our networking dinner at 5 in this direction today, and you will be given these cards. To help support the staff, we are actually initiating a staff weekend ahead of the camp this year. So we start on Saturday, camp starts on Sunday. Saturday we'll meet from 3 o'clock, and we'll start looking at things like why is a small group important for the kids? How do we do that? How do we facilitate for the kids to get to choose Jesus, to listen to the Holy Spirit, and all that stuff? And then we'll get into the practical stuff of the camp as well. We also, last year, I don't know if you guys remember, I was standing here talking about how we want to make camp more accessible for special needs kids. And as a result, Thomas came to me afterwards and said, I would like to work with this. And so now we have a coordinator, which we're so thankful for. He will be here tonight for the networking dinner, so if you know of any families that need to talk to him, then come and meet him there. And we will figure out how we do this, parents and him together, and to see how we can make camp accessible for their kids. One last thing. So I'm going to try this. Since this worked last year, I'm going to try one more thing. I need a practical assistant. Any takers around here? Come talk to me afterwards.
Yes, my name is John.
And my name is John.
And my name is Elin.
And this is Lina. She's not here. We are leading the summer camp this year, and I think we have... Youth. Yeah, the youth summer camp, sorry. That's important. Not the whole summer camp. We have a movie here, I think, if it's working. Yes?
So, hey!
Hey!
My name is Lina.
My name is John.
My name is John.
My name is Elin.
Yeah, that's what we're called.
And we are leading the youth camp.
Yes, and we're really excited to see you there.
Yeah, so the theme for this summer camp is wonder. What does that mean, John?
Wonder. I don't know, Lina, you know?
To be in wonder of an amazing God.
Yeah.
I remember one time at camp, my team applied for the volleyball tournament and we fought hard and we won.
And you never won.
Oh yeah, but I would like to.
You would like to win.
I would like to win, yeah.
But what I'm really looking forward to is our bumper ball tournament this year. That's a new thing.
Yeah, camp is fun. Like camp.
And what else do we looking forward to, Lina?
We are looking forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you will bring all your friends.
Yeah, and we're gonna have such an amazing camp with worship, small groups,
Games.
Creatures.
So I hope to see you all there.
Yes.
Better register on the link here
Below.
after.
Oh, I always wanted to do this. Comment and subscribe, like the video, share it.
Åh, vad blev det? Lite nervös. Yes, so there are not so many youth here, but I guess you have a lot. I hope you have a lot in your churches. So please bring all of them here. And yeah,
we're really excited for camp. So please just get your kids and all the teenagers you know to come and apply for the camp. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
and we're also going to have a leader training kind of day before, like you see here. So as the kids camp will meet the day before, we will do as same with the youth leaders. So and this is for everyone helping out at youth camp. So please register, and if you want more information, you find it on our webpage. Thank you.
Thank you. John and Lina are doing an excellent job, and all the coordinators of different ministries what we have. And we just heard yesterday more about that in a leaders gathering where we heard their stories, and it's so exciting to see and hear what's going on. And I think within a couple of years we will see, because there's something going on right now. Holy Spirit is really touching people and doing things, and that is changing the whole movement. And especially, we know that Jesus is our future, but the young people are our future too. And that's why we should pray for them, that our churches will gather more young people in many ways. Mike Pilavacci, it has been great to have you here. A couple of years ago, you were also here, and it really touched me so much that I was there in a front row, and I tried to hold my tears, and I couldn't, and eventually I blushed. You know, my head was about to explode, and there was so much pressure in my head that the nose was starting to bleed, and the flaming molehead was wiping the floors there, and we're scared that the whole cultural center will be destroyed somehow. So huge impact. So we're so glad to have you here, and you're leader of the Soul Survivor movement and the Soul Survivor Church, which has really had a huge impact to the whole world. So please welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and it's. Oh, thank you. Just checking, what time do we finish? Is it 11 for break, for coffee? When's coffee break? 11, okay. Okay, thank goodness I brought my phone because I can't see that clock. There's nothing wrong with the clock, it's my eyesight. I'm so pleased that I was welcomed by a Finn because, where are you? There you are. I speak Finnish. Yeah, I do. Mansika kaku. Thank you. That's all I know. It's strawberry cake. The most important bit. And we could maybe in the coffee break, Mansika kaku together. That's fellowship. I'm going to launch straight in on a subject that I feel very, very passionate about. We're stopping our festivals this summer in England after 27 years, and we're doing it because we believe that God spoke to us. He told us to start, and then he told us to stop. And it's not because we've run out of money. We've never had any money. It's not because youth work. And it's not because of anything else. It's just because Jesus spoke to us. And we're thrilled. One of the things when he started saying, we started sensing he was saying to stop. One of the things that was, I said to the trust, I said, we can't stop because what's going to happen to all the kids? What's going to happen to all the young people? We're responsible for them. And I said that at a trustees meeting, at a board meeting. And a few days later, I was praying. And I said it to the Lord, which was a mistake. And because he said, when did the young people become your responsibility? When did they become your young people? They're my kids. They're my responsibility. I can look after them. And you know, sometimes all it needs is one word from Jesus like that. And it was like the burden lifted. It was like, of course they are, Lord. If you're telling us to stop, it means that you have a plan. It means that you're in charge. It means that you know what you're doing. And sometimes it takes as much trust, I have discovered, to stop something as it does to start something. And what is wonderful is that there are a number of events, youth events, that are going to start the following summer. But there's 3 that we talked with, 3 groups of friends that are going to start youth events. And I'm so excited because they're going to do them better than us. And one is the Vineyard version of your Nordic Vineyard Youth, and they call it DTI, and they're going to start in the summer. And this summer at our events, we're going to hand over the baton, and it's like a relay race. And my focus is don't drop the baton, because actually, if the next runner wins, we all win. And we want these 3 new groups that are going to start to do so well and to excel in reaching young people. But one of the things that we're going to do is I want to spend my remaining years encouraging the church in 2 areas, wherever I can, in whatever little way I can. One, in doing naturally supernatural ministry. Because what I've realized over the years is loads of churches believe in this stuff. Lots of leaders believe in this stuff, but not many churches and leaders do this stuff. And this stuff needs to be done in the context of the local church, because the local church is the hope for the world. And you know what? For 27 years, we've been getting kids, they've come to know Jesus at the events. They've been filled with the Spirit. They've learned a new way of worship. They've learned to pray for one another. They've begun to move in the gifts of the Spirit. And then many of them have gone back to churches where it's believed in, but it doesn't happen, and something dies in them. And so what we want to do is, and what I've discovered as I've thought about it, is so many leaders don't get practically how it works. And it's a little bit like I was saying last night, that actually, you know, don't wait until you're not frightened. Don't wait until it's not scary, because you'll never not be frightened. It'll never not be scary. I've been doing this for years and years and years. And last night, because it was the first night, when we started ministry, there was a bit in me that was, oh my goodness, what if you don't do anything, Lord? What if there's an expectancy here? They'll be so disappointed. And I had to go through that all over again. Or again. When will I ever learn? And it was like, no, it's not about that. It's about, I can't make anything happen, so the pay's the same. If you do more, we stay here longer. If you do less, we go and get ice cream. The pay's the same. I can't make anything happen. And so I'm going to stop worrying. I'm going to do my job, which is to be obedient. And either you do your job or you don't. And the pay's the same. It's up to you. And if less happens, I'm not responsible, because I've discharged my responsibility. And so many leaders don't get that. And that's why we get anxious. And that's why we turn it into a performance. And that's why we sometimes err into trying to make something happen. Anyway, that's not the talk I wanted to give. Sorry. But that's the first thing. But the second thing, which is what I want to talk about in the next few minutes, that I want to give my remaining, and you know, I'm 61 now. You wouldn't think, would you? It's a miracle. How did I get to look so... Who was that? How did I get to look so good at 61? Honestly, it's not something I can get proud about, because it's not me, it's a gift. It's a gift, that and oil of Ule. And do you know what? In my remaining years, I want to encourage the church, to build church, to be church, to do church on family principles rather than business principles. Because family is what church is meant to be. Family is what church has always been meant to be, because it's always been meant to be about community. God himself is the first community. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That phrase, God is love, is meaningless if God is not Trinity. If God is not community, because love by definition is something that you give to someone else. Love is something that only exists in a relationship. And from the beginning, God called a people to be a people. The greatest character in the Old Testament after God is not Abraham or Moses or Joseph or David or Elijah. It's Israel, a people, not a person. The greatest character in the New Testament after Jesus is not Mary or Peter or Paul or James or Andrew. It's the church, a people, not a person. And when God wants to do things on the earth, he calls a people together. And one of the reasons is because God's character, God's nature is expressed perfectly through a committed community. Because that's how he reaches people. That's how he changes the world. And that's what the church is meant to be. And the reason this is important today is because we live in a totally fractured world. We live in a world that has forgotten how to do committed community. You know, we're the Facebook generation, except we are, the kids aren't anymore. They've moved on. You know, I have Facebook still, and that's it's all the other stuff now. But you know what? Just a while ago, I saw on my Facebook news feed, somebody wrote, I have decided that I have too many Facebook friends. And so over the course of the next 2 or 3 days, I am going to delete half of you. I write this note so that no one will be hurt or offended. And you know what? I thought, oh bless, you know. And I thought, you know what? I'm 61 now. I'm secure. I'm a leader that's seasoned. I've been around a long time. I'm secure in my humanity, in my calling, and in my ministry. Do you know, for the next 3 days, I kept checking to see if I'd been deleted or not. And do you know, the relief that I hadn't been deleted yet. And it was like, oh my word, in a society where you can delete people on the press of a Facebook button, no wonder we're insecure. No wonder there's so much loneliness. No wonder there's so much anxiety. And I know that emotional and mental illness is a lot more complicated than this. But at the heart of it is loneliness. I live in a town called Watford. And was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago, the mayor of Watford came to our church to meet. I couldn't be there, but met the kid that's trying to take over from me. Met Andy, and they talked. And Andy asked him, "You're the mayor of Watford. What is the greatest need in Watford? What is the greatest problem in Watford?" And he said, "The second greatest problem that people tell me about everywhere is parking. We haven't got enough space for, that's the second greatest one. The biggest," he said, "is loneliness. That's the biggest issue, loneliness." And that's the truth. So much of the stuff that happens is because we want community without commitment. And of course, community without commitment is false community. You see, if you're not committed to anyone, then the insecurity comes when you realize that they're not committed to you. And it can change. And this individualistic disease has affected the church. Again, my friend Andy, he was walking down the road a while ago, and he came across a young lady who he hadn't seen at church for a while. She used to go. And he said to her in his very pastoral way, "I haven't seen you at church for a while. Is everything all right?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." She said, "Yeah, I'm still love Jesus, but I don't really do church. I don't really like church. I'm not into church as that. So what I do," she said, "is I have church on my own on a Sunday morning." And he was curious. He said, "How do you do that?" She said, "Well, after I've got up, I've had a shower, I've got dressed, I put on some of my favorite worship music from one of my favorite Christian worship bands from around the world, and I worship to that. And then after that, I listened to a podcast from one of my favorite preachers from around the world." And she said, "That's my church." When I was told that, I wanted to find that young lady and I wanted to headbutt her. And I wanted to say, "You stupid moron. After you've worshipped to one of the best worship bands from around the world that no local church could match, and then you've listened to one of the best talks from one of the best preachers from around the world, which no local church except mine could match. After you've done that, what do? Do you invite your teddies to come forward to give their lives to Jesus? I mean, you can't, there's no such thing as church on your own. It ain't, whatever you call it, that ain't church. Because it's about community. And have you noticed community's flipping hard work? I love humanity. It's just people I don't like very much. And unfortunately, churches with people with issues and problems, and they don't all think like you. And they don't all always laugh at your jokes, which is one of the worst things. But that's what makes it real, and that's what makes it life. You know, just before Jesus died, he gave one new commandment to his disciples. One new commandment. And the new commandment was this. He says it, first of all, he says it twice. First of all, in John 13, verse 34, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." And then he repeats it in John 15. He says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you." And then in John 15, he explains it a little further. "Greater love has no one than this, than they lay down their life for their friends. You're my friends if you do what I command you." Do you know he added to the law just before he went to the cross, because he knew that the church would not survive and thrive unless they loved each other with the same quality of love that he loved them. With the same quality of love. And you see how he did it when he called his disciples to himself. He poured out his life for them. He poured out his life, and he said, this is the key. And if you turn to the end of Acts chapter 2, I haven't got time to look at it, but you know, after the day of Pentecost, you know, the best bit of Acts chapter 2, I love the day of Pentecost, but I love the aftermath. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to prayer and to breaking of bread, and they met every day. And with glad and sincere hearts, they sold their possessions and gave to anyone who had need. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. And do you know what it says in John 13? After Jesus says, a new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Then he says, by this everyone will know that you're my disciples, if you love one another. This is how they'll know. Loving one another is the best evangelistic tool we have, especially in this age where people are longing to belong. They're looking for where they can be accepted and loved and cherished. And the biggest question a non-Christian asks when they come into our church is not what is our doctrine of the cross and resurrection, although that's really important. It's not what is our sexual ethics, although that's really important. The question they're actually asking is, could I belong here? Would they accept me here? If they knew what I was really like, would there still be a place for me? And the way they find out is they sit there and they watch our relationships with each other. And they see how we are with each other. Because they want to test us out. Because they want to find out, if I was myself, would they still love me? If they knew the worst about me, could this possibly be home for me? And I'm going to be really honest with you. I've over the years, I have been, because I'm old now, over the years, I've been to so many church leaders' conferences. And they're mostly all the same. I just can't do it anymore. I've stopped. I can't do it anymore. And I could tell you, because I've been to so many over the years, and it's all the same. They bring in some great keynote speaker from a huge, successful church with lots of money. And he does, and it's always he does the key successful church leader talk. And it goes like this. I've memorized it. In case they ever invite me. You know, I can do it. And it goes like this. 3 weeks ago, our church had 52 people. And now, there's 4.2 million of us. And we have satellite churches on Mars and Venus. And our budget is bigger than Texas. And you too could have a church like mine. If you followed these 3 principles, these 4 practices, these 5 ways, you too could be as successful as me. And I used to believe that nonsense. I did. How many times I went to this conference and I wrote down the notes and I wrote down the 3 things I had to do and the 4 ways and the 5 practices in order to have a huge, successful mega church like theirs. And I went back to my poor church. They dreaded me going after a while. It was like, they'd say to each other, he's gone to another leaders' conference. Oh no, get ready for when he comes back. And I came back with the new plan, with the new theory. And it was like, oh no, here we go again. We've got to change again. And over the years, we did everything. We alphaed, we omegaed. We spiritually warfared. We cell-churched. We G12'd even. We Hillsonged, we Betheled. We did everything. And every time it was like, oh no, we got to change. We got to be like them. We got to be like this lot. And you know what? You know what? None of it really worked because it wasn't authentic. Because we weren't being us. And you know the worst is, I've even heard some leaders, they've said, of successful churches, of wealthy churches, they've said to all these poor leaders, they said, do you know what you need to do if you want to grow a big successful church? Find the best and buy the best. Find the best people and spend whatever you need. Pay whatever you need in order to get them on your staff. And when you've got the best on your staff, then your church will grow. And I understand what they were trying to say. They were trying to say, as the senior leader, don't feel threatened by gifted people. But I sat there and I thought, how can you stand there and say that to the poor vicar, the poor pastor of St. Botolph's in the Marsh, who's got a congregation of 32 and a dog? How is he or she going to buy the best? Some of us have got to raise the best for you to buy the best. Someone's got to raise them. And do you know what? In a business, you hire and fire employees. In a family, you raise up sons and daughters. And we've got to raise up sons and daughters because that's what grows the church. That's what grows the church. If we all end up with this culture of hiring and firing employees, and I'm not saying that can never happen. Occasionally things go horribly wrong, but it's only when it goes horribly, horribly wrong and there's absolutely no choice. And you all recognize this was a failure. What can we learn? This isn't how it's meant to be. When you raise up sons and daughters, do you know Jesus? He's our model. Not some of these. He's our model. He's always meant to be our model. And do you know, in Jesus' time, when the top rabbis, they would go to the top rabbinic universities, just as they were about to graduate. They'd had all their training through their childhood years. And then these top rabbis, the last bit of their training to be a rabbi, these students, was at the end, they would be apprenticed to a senior rabbi for 3 years, and they would follow them around, learning their life, not just their doctrine. That's interesting. Learning their life. And then the top rabbis would go and choose. And the question they'd be asking themselves is, do I think this person could do greater things than me? Have they got potential to do greater things than me? And if the answer was yes, they point to them and they say, you, follow me, follow me, follow me. And they get up, I've been chosen. And I am the best of the best. I'm the cream of the cream. And they get the best and they follow them. Do you know, in those days when the top rabbis did that, Rabbi Jesus, there is no evidence that he went to the Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or Yale or, forgive me, I don't know what the Danish equivalent is. He didn't go there. He went to the Sea of Galilee. And instead of picking the best of the best, he picked a bunch of morons. It's Jesus. It's wrongly translated from the Greek. When it says Jesus and the 12 disciples, believe me, that word, I'm Greek. It should read Jesus and the 12 morons. Just look at who he chose. It was not the best of the best. There was Peter. Whenever he opened his mouth, he put his foot in it. And you notice that? He's like, what have I just said? Oh no. I mean, there's that hilarious moment. Don't you love it? When Pete, at last he gets one right. Who do you say I am, says Jesus. And Pete gives the right answer. And Jesus says, you are Rocky. And then Pete says to us, I'm Rocky. I'm Rocky. And then straight away, straight after, you notice it's straight after, Jesus says, I'm going to go to die on the cross. And Pete says, no, you're not. And then Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. I mean, Pete, the one time he gets it right, within minutes, he's Satan. Then there's James and John, nicknamed Sons of Thunder, not because they had digestive problems, but almost certainly because they had bad tempers. They were the bad-tempered ones. It was a euphemism. And do you know what? You know John and James? Do you know they were selfishly ambitious. You know, hey, Jesus, you know you said that you're going to die that gruesome death on the cross. Could you do us a favor? After you've risen from the dead, could we sit on your right and on your left? And by the way, don't tell the other guys about it. Selfishly ambitious, vengefully violent. The Samaritan village won't give us a cup of tea. Let's call down fire from heaven and burn them up. And you know, it just says, Jesus turned and rebuked them in the Bible. Don't you sometimes wish the book was a DVD? Don't you? I do lots of times. I wish it should have been a DVD. And I wonder what he said. And I think I have a special insight. You could just add this in, okay? Well, maybe you're not supposed to do that, but anyway. But do you know, I think it was something like this. Guys, that's not exactly why I came, that we would call down fire from heaven to burn villages up because they don't give us a cup of tea. I thought you weren't concentrating during the Sermon on the Mount, were you? You were on your Instagram, weren't you? When I was talking, you know, love your enemies, do good to those who persecute you, da, da, da. You know, no, I came so that we wouldn't have to call down fire from heaven. I came so that fire wouldn't come. Not in that way. And then my favorite is John. John, I tell you, he was excessively competitive. Have you ever worked with someone in ministry who's excessively competitive? I mean, right at the end of John's Gospel, where he wrote, do you remember what he says? I'm just going to read it quickly. Oh, I hope I don't have time for this. But, right, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, that's John. He says that, but I'm the one he loves, don't you know? And said, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb and we don't know where they have put him. Now this is the central moment in human history. This is the central, everything's been building to this. He's no longer in the tomb. The resurrection has happened. And guess what John decides to emphasize in the central moment of human history? So Peter and the other disciple, me, started running for the tomb. Both were running, but I outran Peter and reached the tomb first. This is the central moment in human history, and you felt it was really vital for future generations to know that you could do the 100 meters faster than Peter. And what makes it even more absurd, they were definitely the 12 morons. Do you see? Right at the end, the last verse, the last sentence in John's Gospel, Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. So basically, John, you're telling us that you left out things that Jesus did and said, but instead you put in that you're a faster runner than Peter. And here's the bit. Jesus chose him. The bad-tempered one, who was excessively competitive, vengefully violent, and selfishly ambitious. He chose him. And he poured his life into him. And he loved him. And he forgave him. And after 3 years, do you know, the one who gave himself the label, who had a label over him when Jesus met him, the bad-tempered one, do you know he gave himself a new label? You heard it. The one he loves. And in his old age, John was known as the beloved disciple. He was known as the disciple of love. Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of God, for he who loves knows God, for God is love. And if you notice, do you notice the subplot all the way through between John and Peter? They were rivals. They were rivals. Do you remember Peter says to Jesus, so what's going to happen to him? What's going to happen to him? And Jesus says, and I paraphrase it, it's none of your business. They were rivals. Do you know, on the day of Pentecost, straight after, you know we focus on the lame guy being healed at Gate Beautiful, and he was jumping and leaping and praising God. Do you remember that one? Do you know the bit that I love? Peter and John were going together, the two of them, to the temple to pray. The great rivals were going together to pray together at the temple. That's how it works. That's how it flipping works. And if we're to raise up, and this whole thing about raising up sons and daughters, you know, in the family, if you tell your 7-year-old son, for example, okay, it's your turn to do the washing up, I want you to load the dishwasher. And your 7-year-old doesn't load the dishwasher well, does a bad job. You don't say, okay, come to my office, sit down, let's have a review. You had a job, I'm sorry, you haven't done it to satisfaction. We're going to have to give you your notice. I'm so sorry, we're bringing in a replacement. There's a 7-year-old from across the road who's going to take your place. You don't do that, do you? If your 7-year-old messes up loading the dishwasher, what do? You load the dishwasher with him for years if you have to. You do it with him for years until he knows how to load the dishwasher, because the main point isn't to load the dishwasher. The main point is that your son, your child, grows up to be all that he's meant to be. Your daughter grows up to be all that she's meant to be. And you sacrifice and you give. And that's exactly what Jesus did with the disciples. He didn't choose the best of the best, but they became the best of the best because he loved them unconditionally, because he went through all the pain of correcting them and challenging them and everything else. And look what happened. And we miss people, we miss gold because we look for the finished product. We miss gold, we miss potential because we look for those who are already there. And you know, there is a joy, there is a wonderful joy in raising people up. There is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful joy in that. And I'm just going to finish with these words. And I mean, there's so much more we could say on this. I mean, so much more about how you do that. If we're going to raise up sons and daughters, you know what we've got to do? We've got to first raise up mothers and fathers. In the church, mothers and fathers who know how to encourage, who know how to spot gold hidden in brokenness, who know how to see beyond the external. And do you know what Paul said to the Corinthians? You have 10,000 teachers. You do not have many fathers. Around teachers, you know what happens? People learn things. Around mothers and fathers, people grow up. And if we're gonna have an impact, we've got to pour ourselves out. Because if we're just going to rely on the best of the best of the best, being the few that do all the ministry, we're stuffed. We may as well pack up and go home. And you know what? People are looking. They're looking for committed community. I'll finish with a couple of stories. I haven't got time to say it all, but I just finish with this. Little things like that happen change everything. In our church, we have some recovery groups for those who are recovering from alcohol abuse or drug abuse or addiction to gambling and things like that. And we try and celebrate people's achievements. And 3 months ago, I was told before the Sunday morning service that there was a lady in one of our recovery groups called Yvonne, and it was that day was the first anniversary of Yvonne being alcohol and drug free. And so in the notices, I said, Yvonne, would you stand up? And she stood up hesitantly. And I said, we celebrate people's successes in our church. Today is the first anniversary of Yvonne being alcohol and drug free. 700 people started clapping and cheering and would not stop. And I looked at Yvonne's face as she stood there near the front, hearing her family cheering her achievement. And you know the best bit was the following Wednesday. The following Wednesday, I had an email from another lady in my church. You can't plan this stuff. And the email said, on Sunday morning, I brought to church for the first time ever my stepsister. And my stepsister has never been to church before. And the thing is, my stepsister is 7 months free of alcohol abuse. And when you did that for Yvonne, my stepsister turned to me and she started weeping. And she said, is that what you do in this church for people like me? You celebrate people like me? That's it. We celebrate people like her. Because we're the church of the woman caught in adultery, of the guy with a legion of demons. Friends of mine planted a church in Melbourne for the broken, in the centre of Melbourne. I love that church. Do you know one of the best bits? Do you know what they called their church? This is a cool name. If I ever plant another church, if I'm wrong and it's Hinduism and reincarnation and all of that, if I've got it wrong and I come back, I'm going to plant. That's a joke. I'm gonna, if I ever, or if I lived to 120 and I planted another church, I would call my church this name. They called their church Matthew's Party. We should all call our churches Matthew's Party. What a great name. What a great name. I'll finish with this in the last 2 minutes. This matters to me. This matters to me because I believe it's biblical. That's the most important. It's in the Word. I haven't even begun. I was going to look at Joseph and all sorts. But secondly, it works. It works. People are looking for home. They're looking to belong. Thirdly, it's because it's what changed my life. It's what changed my life. When I was 26, I was broken. My childhood had been horrific. My teenage years, awful. Without going into detail, because there's no time and I don't particularly want to anyway. And I was a broken person and I couldn't do relationships and I was lonely. And then I heard that there was a church that they prayed for people and God did stuff. And I knew I needed help. So I turned up at this church. And the vicar was a man called David Pitches. And he and his wife Mary, their daughter is Debbie Wright, who with her husband John leads the Vineyard movement now in the UK. It's like she calls me her brother and I call her my sister. And David and Mary, for some reason that I'll never understand, I went there because I was broken, but they took me in. And they loved me. And I used to, there was a year, I think nearly every morning I had breakfast with them. And that they showed me how I could get into their house through the garage, a secret way, where the door was always unlocked. And I would turn up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I would say hello, and I'd hear them scrambling upstairs. They'd say, hello, hello, put the kettle on, we're coming down. And they loved me. Mary, she prayed with me every Friday morning for 3 years. David asked me to be his youth worker, his youth pastor. When I got it wrong, I expected to be blown out of the water because that's what my dad did. He would explode with violence. And all I got was grace. And David corrected me and challenged me and never gave up on me. And I was so broken you don't want to know. And they poured themselves out. David's now 88 years old. He and Mary have prayed for me every single day for over 30 years. They prayed for me this morning because they always pray for me every day. They turned up at our church again 2 Sundays ago. And David shuffled up to say hello. And he said what he always says. He's been saying it for over 30 years. We love you, Mike. We're so proud of you. We love you. We pray for you every day. You need to lose a bit of weight. But we... and get your hair cut. And he doesn't like this. Why aren't you wearing a cross? Why are you wearing that funny symbol? It should be a cross. But that's what dads do, isn't it? Isn't it? But we love you. We're praying for you. We're for you. We're proud of you. And my parents never once told me they were proud of me. Never once. Changed my life. Let's do church as family, not as business. Let's do it as committed community. It's harder work, but the rewards are utterly, utterly amazing. Now, we're finishing here. It's a coffee break. We want to be biblical, and I'm not sure that you guys, you think you're biblical, but I don't think you're as biblical as you think you are, because you're just biblical when it comes to spiritual things, but you're not biblical when it comes to practical things. What does it say in the Bible? It says, first to the Jews, then to the Greeks. Is there anyone here Jewish? Okay, well, I'm Greek. It's coffee time. Mansika kaku, you and me.
Okay, so let's go. And we start again 11:30. So let's be in time here.
Gravy train.
Goodness gracious, damn that booty so spacious. I said goodness gracious, my bitch athletic, so I pull up in the aces. Goodness gracious, posted with your bitch on a regular basis. Goodness